Okie doke. And let's verify that we are in fact live. Which I think we are. Are we live? Oh my god, I can't tell. It says I'm live. Am I freaking live? Okay, I'm just going to assume that I am. And just see what happens. All right, howdy do. Super excited about, well, it's Monday. That's basically it in a nutshell. Yay Monday. News cycles have been incredible, and I'm sure that everyone must have caught on that, what's his face, Epstein, the warden, got reassigned to another post, I think at another jail, and the two guards they were put on relief or something like that, like they were taken off of duty or whatever, and apparently there were screams heard from his cell on the night of his murder, or perhaps the morning, I forget which. At any rate, holy cow, absolutely nutty things are going on right now. I'd like to make mention, excuse me, while I'm thinking about it, tomorrow morning I have a little slot opened up, and I think that Josh, Neal, and I will be able to chit-chat for just a bit. I'm looking forward to that. So that'll be super duper cool. The absolute craziness of what's going on right now. I mean, a lot of people have been saying things about like the Boogaloo or whatever, and I keep thinking in the back of my head, even now, I keep thinking that the majority of those fights are actually going to be in like courtrooms, and they're going to be on city council boards. And yet, in the back of my head, I still can't help but think all of the incredible ramping up of rhetoric over the past, say, 2-3 years or so. I mean, way back in 2016 or whatever, it was just a bunch of crazy SJWs on college campuses, making fun of people getting triggered and stomping Milo speeches or something like that. And weirdly, it has escalated now. There was an ICE facility recently that had a bullet hole in one of its windows. And that one Antifa dude, like, throwing, I don't know what they were, but there was some kind of an incendiary device. I mean, holy cow. This is absolutely nuts. And a thing that's been... Okay, so I don't know. I really don't know if there is going to be any kind of a boogaloo. I don't know. I have no idea. But it seems not out of the realm of possibility, especially as everything is ramping up and intensifying in terms of not mere rhetoric, but rather actions and activities. And that's a real bother for me. And I honestly think that what's being positioned is these red flag laws are going to be used specifically against us. And some kid, I have no idea who he is, some edgelord, I think he's like 18 years old or whatever, in Ohio, was saying absolutely retarded things. And one thing that he did say was pretty freaking Fed posty, and that was used as a pretext to take away all of his firearms. So we are quickly entering an area now where if you are edgy, you may actually get, UK-style treatment. They may just come to your house and take away your firearms. Even now, this just happened. Now, again, I stress, this kid was, this was not taken away under the red flag law concept, as far as I know. It seems as though this kid was just Fed posting. So this was not First Amendment protected rhetoric. This was a threat to someone's life, as far as I know. But at the same time, when you're an 18-year-old edgelord, you do stupid bullshit. I know that because I was 18 one time, and I was pretty fucking retarded. Anyhow, for the 3 people here who might know a person who knows a person, by chance, if anyone is getting, like, edgy or whatever, just indicate that it's okay to be edgy to a point, but, like, don't give these people excuses to fuck with you, is all I'm saying. We are kind of moving into serious territory, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. This stream is paused as I am, even this stream I know is going to get taken down. Rather, this channel is going to get taken down sooner or later. I'm aware of this. There truly is no place to run. There is no place to hide. We are on our own. I'm aware of this. And until the day comes when I'm going to have to get a little bit more serious than just streaming, until that day comes, just don't paint a target over yourself is all I'm saying. And maybe that makes me a wuss. I don't know. I really can't tell anymore, to be perfectly honest. Because the whether I like it or not, I mean, one false move and some of these guys in these 3-letter agencies, they will take delight in harassing you and ruining your life. I mean, and if it leads to an arrest, they get a promotion, they get a bonus or whatever it is. So it's not like, I mean, they have an incentive to create honeypots. They have an incentive to get an arrest. I mean, it's really depressing sometimes. I try not to get down about it, but I'm just saying, like, just don't make it easy for these guys to get a bonus off of your dumbass because you said something retarded one time. That's all I'm saying. Okay, anyway, I'm going to stop harping on that because I don't want it to turn into a big giant finger wag, because that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm on about. Anyhow, qualifiers and disclaimers, of course. This is a stream of peace. We are all about peace, love, and understanding. This is all one great big cultural exchange. We do not endorse anything. We do not exhort anything. We do not issue any advice as to what actions and activities anyone may or may not want to do. The only thing that we here know, or the only thing that we know here at Eke Lux live streams, is that things are afoot, and we all must be careful and cautious and aware of our surroundings. If you see something, say something. Diversity macht frei. Israel is our greatest ally. And I can't think of anything else, so I guess that about does it for the qualifiers. Hey, Runer, how you doing, buddy? So, and let's see, I candle all. It almost sounds like it's, there's a cadence to that. Okay. So, I think what I'm going to do now is prepare myself for some reading. I think this is a great time. Just going to go ahead and I heated up a little bit of chicken broth. I love chicken broth at night. I don't know why. I just adore it. So when I play my first track for the evening, I'm going to have some chicken broth. It's going to be great. All right, so we are now at page 42 of the book on Purim, the Feast of Esther, it reads. Purim. Fantastic little read so far. We have learned, what have we learned about? Let's see, the Book of Esther. Everyone needs to read the Book of Esther. Oh, hey Blitz, how you doing, buddy? Because if we are going to understand the nature of the situation in which we find ourselves, it's important to note that some people believe things that we may not believe, which means that if we don't understand what they believe, we will be unable to understand their decision-making. So it's very important that we understand what they believe and what they think, so that their decision-making does not take us by surprise. Sun Tzu had quite a lot to say about that. So, the Book of Esther outlines the basis for the Purim feast, the Purim festival celebration. And the Book of Esther, and of course Purim, is one of the two most sacred holidays in all of Jainism. So this is not light stuff. This is very serious stuff to some people. So we had learned a little bit about the possible historicity of. Okay, all right. Okay, buddy, you chill out there. But yeah, we learned just a little bit about the historicity, or lack thereof, with regards to the book of Esther, and there was some discussion about how Esther and Mordecai were actually both sub-ins. That is to say, they were. It was actually a story about gods battling each other, and how Haman was actually a god of winter, and Mordecai was the god of summer. This was ultimately rejected in favor of other interpretations, but that's more or less where we were just a little while ago. So here we go. Okay, I think I'm going to start on at the upper portion of the page, so that, yeah, I'm going to start one sentence previous to the new paragraph. So here we go. The same is recorded of the Gemish New Year. Thus, the lots of Haman are traced to their ultimate source, and the banqueting is a record of the fact that the gods became drunk at the feast of creation. Noticing, by the way, thus the lots also refers to Purim obliquely, because Purim is translated by some as dice, which means roll of the dice. Lots meaning lots, dice, chance, gambling. That's what lots is in this context. Continuing. But Puru was in reference to Purim. There's some etymological reason for that word, but I forgot what it was. It was from last night's stream, which I still have up. I'm going to have to go through and clear out some of my old streams. So for now, you will be able to read about, or rather hear me read about Puru. Okay, but Puru cannot by normal philology become Purim, nor is it likely that the Zagmuk festival celebrated in the first 2 weeks of Nisan, already parallel with the Gemish New Year, should become Purim of the 14th and 15th of Adar. Once more, Bruno Meissner modifies the view put forward by Zimmern and holds that Purim reaches Israel through the Persian offspring of the Babylonian Zagmuk. This child is known to Strabo and Bosporus as Sakiah. Oh, hey, I think I went through this, actually. I might be one paragraph, whatever. I'm going to continue reading, though, because some of these names sound familiar. This is the Bacchanalian festival when Ishtar, goddess of love, was omnipotent, when a mock king was enthroned over the populace, and when all these social relations were reversed. It is thought, therefore, that Purim records the annual freedom of the Jews of Susa while Ishtar reigned. The Golden Bow, Fraser develops this interpretation and is of the opinion that during the Sakiah, the mock king and queen impersonated the god and goddess of winter, whose death at the end of the feast marked the coming of spring. Mordecai and Esther are the god and the goddess of fertility, who come to life again at the beginning of the new year. This view postulates a more intimate connection between Purim and the spring festival than the biblical story allows. Nonetheless, it is possible the Sakiah may have partly inspired the Purim festival. Strabo, born 63 before Christ, says in his Geography, chapter 512, quote, there were found sanctuaries both of Anitis and of the associated gods Oman and Anadotos. Okay. Persian divinities. Yeah, I did go through all of this. That's weird. How far did I get? Did I get to page 45? That's weird. Because I'm remembering this from last night. And they celebrated a festival and yearly rites named Sakaya, end quote. Anitis has been identified with the old Iranian deity Anahita, the undefiled. Yeah, see, I remember that sentence because I remember thinking Persian plus undefiled. There's a Nassim meme featuring the word defiled, never again, or something like that, never defiled, or something to that effect. Anyway, continuing. The goddess of love and beauty, Anahita, sounds Japanese. When in the 6th century before Christ, or possibly earlier, the cults of Babylon became known to the Persians, she was immediately identified with Ishtar. Strabo is wrong in ascribing to Cyrus the institution of the festival in honor of Anitis. He affirms that it was, however, a carnival. Athenaeus, quoting Berosus, parenthetical circa 250 before Christ, in Dipnosophistiae, chapters, or it says CH period. I can't imagine there are 639 chapters, but there it says it. End parenthetical. Says that the Sakaya was celebrated at Babylon on the 16th of Lus, or Ab, when a king of misrule, Zogane perhaps, parenthetical Mishnaic Hebrew Sagan, which equals representative, end parenthetical, was appointed and the social order reversed. Dion Chrysostom, parenthetical 345 to 407, Anno Domini, end parenthetical, records that the festival was Persian in origin and that a malefactor was put on the king's throne to rule during the festival and to be scourged and hanged afterwards. Holy cow. Hardcore stuff. I think that's where I ended last night, but we're going to continue, obviously. All right. Continuing. Oh, hey, Oxstone. How you doing, buddy? All right. Langdon suggests that the, quote, carnival of the Lord of Misrule was most probably held at the Autumn New Year festival from the most remote antiquity in honor of the marriage of the god Ningirsu and the goddess Bau at Lagash, and in honor of the queen of love Ishtar at Erech. It's CH. I'm pretty sure it's one of those weird sounds. All right, continuing. At the latter seat of one of Sumer's most ancient cults, the festival cults, all right, cults pluralized, the festival survived until the last century before our era, and it was from there that the carnival passed into Persia under the patronage of Anitis. I was supposed to start a quote at carnival and then end it at Anitis, but okay, that's fine. Moving on. He derives the name Sakaya from Sakuti, quote, the day of fools, end quote, or the like, and maintains that the festival is composite, being in part derived from the yearly abdication of the king for a short period, and in part from the conquest of the spring sun over the winter season. Here, in his view, is the source of his Purim festivities. He establishes the derivation of the name Purim from the use of the word Puru in the sense of quote, lot, end quote, a loan word from the Sumerians, where it means a stone bowl. Yet conscious borrowing of heathen rites must have been repugnant to gems of any age. It is true that Gemish custom has been shown to be largely syncretistic. Syncretistic. For those who don't know, syncretistic is a fun word. Basically just means taking two disparate ideologies and trying to line them up so that they are internally consistent when placed against each other or adjacent. Largely it doesn't work, but the aim is to try to make it work. All right, continuing. And that normal analogy illustrates a regular folk motif parading in the guise of a Gemish miracle. Nevertheless, the tradition which takes the festival back to Persia seems to be a true one. It remains more than likely that the spirit of carnival reached Israel from Iran long before the Greek period. As we have seen, the Jews of Persia had full opportunity to join in the annual revelry of their neighbors. Later, they may have selected for their reviling the god Omanos in Haman, and just conceivably Anadatos in Hamadatha. Okay, whatever. Moreover, and if, just for anyone who might be late to the party, Danny Torrance is here. Hey, buddy. For anyone who may be late to the party, Haman was the villain of the Book of Esther, as where Mordecai was ostensibly the protagonist, even though it might be kind of a dyad, like a good cop, bad cop between Esther and Mordecai. Anyway, Haman was the villain. There are reasons behind that. I highly recommend anyone who has not read the Book of Esther, go read the Book of Esther. Read the Book of Esther, and remember that it's the basis of one of the two most sacred holidays. Continuing. Moreover, the other names in Esther are best explained by Sheftelowitz as Aryan in derivation. Tradition, though founded on facts, tends to distort them for its own ends. It is the task of the student to distinguish between distortion and original fact. The explanations of the origin of Purim from Assyrian sources have accounted neither for all of the important events nor for all the important characters in our story. That a satisfying and direct Assyrian explanation would not be forthcoming might well have been foreseen. What a weird sentence. All right, I'm gonna try that again. I think I understand it now. It's assembled strangely. That a satisfying and direct Assyrian explanation would not be forthcoming might well have been foreseen. Again, it does make sense. It's just very awkward. Continuing. One has but to compare the creation legends of Israel to Assyria to see a clear disparity. Much is similar, but a complete identification is impossible. It is hardly possible that a festival sacrifice should be instituted in Persia and not in the Holy Land. In accordance with the secular character of the Book of Esther, there is mention neither of any religious observance nor of gratitude to God for the deliverance of Israel. Thus, in spite of the adoption of Purim into the religious calendar, the secular nature of the festival has remained the distinctive feature of its celebration throughout its history. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure that is the case. I only read Esther like once or twice, and I really do need to read it once more. I should probably read it a couple times more. And now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure God isn't mentioned even once by name and there is no, I mean, but if there's no mention of God, there cannot be a thanking of God. That's funny. All right, continuing. Actually, you know what? It's 11:31. I think I am going to take a quick breather, and I'm going to have some chicken broth because I freaking love chicken broth. So I'm going to find myself a nice... I didn't line up a track before streaming today, which is my own fault. So I'm going to have to find something kind of pleasant. We'll see what we find. Super duper tempting to play Billy Idol, but I'm always afraid that I'm going to get a frickin' strike if I play anything too well known. So maybe I won't play that. Daft Punk is a little bit too intense. I'm feeling a bit more calm today. Maybe I'll play some George Clanton. I'm gonna play QRSST. Is that? There we are. I'm gonna play some George Clanton. And now I'm going to get myself an image. Just about any old image will do. No, that's a silly image. But then again, I'll go with it. It's fine. Because all I'm doing is just putting an image up for all to see. Alright, here we will see downtown Los Angeles. Everyone here now gets to see a nice view of what my home city looks like. Alright, this is Starboy by Esprit. Great track. And yeah, AFK BRB. Okie doke. So that was good old Esprit. The name of that track is Starboy, and I really, really like the general tone of that track. That is the kind of music that I grew up with as a kid, way back in the 90s. Well, I was a teenager in the 90s, so I guess when I was a teenager, at any rate. Yeah, I freaking love that track. It's amazing. And also, yeah, this is the Los Angeles of my youth. This is not what is visible today. It's a lot more hideous, in my own opinion. Anyhow, let's move back to the main. There we are. And let's open our books and continue. Also, there was a comment by Goose Bear that was actually pretty good. Okay, here we are. Excuse me, sorry. Alright, Goose Bear says, by the by, I think I figured out how to argue from a biblical perspective that race mixing is morally wrong. Honor thy father and thy mother. This commandment reasonably extends to your elders, and presumably your family and therefore your tribe and people. I think there's actually something to that. I really do. Because if you stop and think about it, people died so that you could be alive. I mean, bloody wars were fought so that you could be here today. And if you do not honor the people that literally died so that you could be alive, then you are disrespecting them. So I think there is something to be said for keeping the tribe alive, keeping your ancestors, keeping your people intact. And while a little bit of admix here and there is not the end of the world, the thing is that once you go past a certain point, you are not in any way the tribe previous. So I mean, we can't, and I'm not, I mean, it's so easy to move directly into purity spiraling where suddenly you're moving into like DNA tests or whatever. Like, I'm not advocating that. But the point is simply that, yeah, like, I think it's a good idea to preserve what we are. King Kush says there is no rewind. Yeah, another way of looking at it is you can mix chocolate into the chocolate milk. You cannot mix chocolate out of the chocolate milk. So it's important to understand that when you're making a person, it's for real. When you're making a new human being, it's for keeps, and it's not a joke. So my thought pattern is, yeah, basically I unironically love diversity. I genuinely love diversity. And as a person who loves diversity, that means that we should not be breeding ourselves out of existence. I think it's pretty simply stated, just as that alone. So there you go. Anyhow, let's get back to the book. Okay, we were at complete identification is impossible, distinctive celebration throughout history. Really? Gratitude for thus, in spite of the adoption of Purim into the religious calendar, the secular nature of the festival. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so, yeah, that's right. The absolute state of Eke Lux in 2019. All right, continuing. So, all right, here we are. The Talmud does not, however, hint at the nature of its origin. Rabbi Samuel Bar Judah seems to have had an inkling of the early history of the festival. He says that Purim was first instituted in Susa but spread later to the diaspora. The date of its introduction to Palestine cannot be determined with any exactitude. There is a note at the end of a Greek manuscript of Esther, which states that the translation of the, quote, Purim epistle, end quote, the work of Lysimachus, son of Ptolemaeus of Jerusalem, was introduced into Egypt in the 4th year of Ptolemy and Cleopatra. Excuse me. Where are we? There we are. It is possible only to guess which Ptolemy and Cleopatra the author had in mind. Some scholars favor Philometer, parenthetical 181 to 145 before Christ, and parenthetical. Others Sotor, parenthetical Lathyrus, Lathyrus, 114 before Christ, end parenthetical. And so the historical value of the note remains dubious, but in view of the reference to Purim in the Mishnah, parenthetical see infra, end parenthetical, the former seems more likely. All the various higher critical accounts of the origin of Purim festival are so conflicting and confused that it is difficult to accept any one of them as authoritative. Above all, they seem to evade the difficulty of explaining the lapse of time between the adoption by the Jews of the festival and the date by which the Gems had compiled their own legends and sincerely believed that Esther and Mordecai were historical persons. That Gems living in Persia should have Persian or Assyrian names, and even names which resemble those of local deities, is hardly surprising. It is as though a higher critic of some future millennium who found a gem named Siegfried in some Judeo-German novel should identify him with the hero of early Teutonic mythology. Though the rabbis tell us that the Gems of Egypt owed their deliverance to the fact that they changed neither their Hebrew language nor their Gemish names, we are not bound to assume the same consistency in the Gemish captives within the Persian Empire. It is not unfair, in view of the inconclusive nature of the critical arguments, to reassess such material as is to be found in rabbinic literature. That all the rabbinic references and discussions of Purim are based on a quibble with regard to the second letter of Esther seems an overstatement, and we may justifiably assume that the rabbis were preserving and echoing genuine Gemish tradition when they re-argued the problem of the canonicity of Esther, and that on one occasion the Persian Gems were saved from disaster in a way which a people who believed in an omnipotent deity who had chosen them for his peculiar people who could think of only as miraculous. Okay, all right, it's a nice run-on sentence there. They celebrated this salvation in Persian fashion. The deliverance occurred on the 14th of Adar and was either made known on or extended to the 15th of that month in Susa. So signal an event could not be allowed to sink into oblivion. In all likelihood, a letter was written to the Gemish authorities in Jerusalem to tell them what had taken place in Persia. The papyri found at Elephantine in Upper Egypt afford a precedent and a parallel. The chief of this community of gems in Yeb writes to the high priest in Jerusalem. He tells how the Egyptians had risen up against them and destroyed their temple. He appeals for funds to rebuild their house of worship, that they may continue to serve the Lord. Oh, wow. The Egyptians destroyed the temple. Terrible. Continuing, we know from the Talmudic sources that the more conservative elders of Jerusalem were taken aback. Let's see here. That's sort of a weird. It's a weird sentence. Let me try that one more time. We know from the Talmudic sources that the more conservative elders of Jerusalem were taken aback. Oh yeah, the more conservative elders of Jerusalem were taken aback when they received the letter from Esther and Mordecai. The institution of Purim would conflict with the fundamental principle that the law of Moses was complete, that no prophet should introduce any innovation. Yet here were Esther and Mordecai trying to do that very thing. The progress of the discussion which ensued has already been narrated. It is sufficient to recall that by the time when 2nd Maccabees was written, Adar 14th had become a festival day. By Mishnaic times, the festival was generally observed. The Mishnah Rosh Hashanah, there we are, speaks of sending out messengers to see the new moon for Adar in order to fix the day of Purim, while Megillah is devoted exclusively to the festival. By Talmudic times, Purim was established. Mishiniknas Adar Marbim Besimha. Okay, fair enough. Continuing, in the light of what has gone before, it can hardly be too rash to assume that our festival saw its birth in Persia. Eagerly assimilating pagan modes, it passed its childhood in Persia from the end of the 4th to the beginning of the 3rd century, and was adopted in Palestine during that century. Here its foster parents took so kindly to it that their enthusiasm spread to the gems of the most distant parts of the diaspora, until they too began to join in happy celebration. At the latest, the book as we know it was written at the beginning of the 3rd century. Its author was no mean artist. Not only did he tell his tale well, but he improved it in the telling. Oh, I'll be darned. So historicity is out the door, and retellings have improved it. I wonder how many innovations there were. I can think of one or two that strike me as very fucking weird. All right, continuing. He did not hesitate to paint his narrative with the bright colors of Assyrian legend, nor did he refrain from advising Israel to imitate their neighbors and send gifts to one another. The Persian New Year festival was refreshing and pleasant. He hoped that Purim would be still happier and more characteristically gemish. The gifts may be imitations of New Year gifts, etrens, and the names may be echoes of nature myths, but the story is a gemish one. It may have been somewhat in this wise that a pagan spring carnival marked in its remoter parentage by the ironical crowning of a buffooning king, followed by his scourging and death, traveled from Erech to the old Babylonian center to Persia, and from Persia back to Babylon, subtly to be rewoven into the fabric of our story. Henceforth, in Israel, the Purim festival is a season of joy and of merrymaking. Some of its legends seem to recall Mesopotamian myths, and wherever it goes, it tends always to adopt the trappings of similar pagan jestings. Otherwise, its origin has long lost itself in the harmonious story of the beautiful Gemish queen who saved her people from destruction. And there we are. That's the end of chapter 1. man, good freaking book. Good freaking book. I'm actually really glad that I'm reading this. I was initially just going to focus on Talmud alone, and I picked up this book more or less on a whim, because I thought to myself, why not? I actually do kind of want to learn a little bit about Purim, and I thought that it was just going to be a lot of rather dry academic balderdash, and yet here we are. I feel like I'm actually learning something, like formally, like properly. So yeah, it's cool. It's 11:53. I think I'm going to set up another track. Let's see here. Remove kick rocks, buddy. Taking that off. And let's play one more track. I'm not sure what I'm going to play. It's going to have to be kind of small, because we are approaching the end of the top of the hour. Oh, here we go. Well, it's a relaxing song, but with just a little bit of energy behind it. Maybe I don't want to play that one, but I'll keep that on the back end. I may end up playing that one. Lone is way too intense for me right now. There's no way I'm playing any of that stuff. Refresh, pool position. Tempting to play some Mitch Murder. I do have a little bit of Mitch Murder here. But no, I think Mitch Murder is still a little bit more energetic than I want. Okay, you know what? I haven't played this track in a really, really long time. So I'm going to play New Shoes. That's what I'm going to do. I'm playing freaking New Shoes, Drifting Away. In relation to what? I don't know. But this is the track that I'm going to play. This is an older track, but one that I like. This is New Shoes, Drifting Away. This is from like 1986 or something like that. And it's really weird that it's basically vaporwave, but like it hasn't been modified at all. I don't think there's any need to modify this in order to turn it into vaporwave. It's very weird. So at any rate, here we go. and it just sort of stops. So there you go. Okay. Anyhow, that was New Shoes drifting away. They had like the beginnings of a little tiny career for just a minute, but and their production values are pretty good. Their melodies are pretty nice, but as I'm sure anyone listening may have noticed, they don't really have a lot of progressions. The music doesn't really go anywhere. It's their tracks are quite static. I've listened to several of their tracks. I just happen to like that particular melody for some reason. Anyhow, if for some reason anyone was interested, they've got some pretty good melodies or whatever. If I was into producing vaporwave, I'm quite sure that I would raid the crap out of their discography. So, anyhow, yeah, I think this is a great time to call stream, because tomorrow morning I'm going to be streaming. I've got a window available, and Josh Neal, my understanding is he has a window available at the same time, so this is quite outstanding. Right about 10 a.m.-ish my time, so I have exactly enough time to basically pass out now, wake up, drag myself out of bed, have a cup of coffee, and then start streaming. So that's the plan of action. So this is it. We're gonna call stream now. Let's see here. Ovi. Ovi was saying something about how the Top Gun soundtrack would be wonderful. I completely concur. And if it weren't for YouTube's algorithms basically taking every freaking thing down, oh my god. What is it, that track? The one by Berlin. Son of a gun. What's the name of that track? I have to Google it because I don't remember it. It's a famous song too. Berlin Top Gun. Take My Breath Away. How could I possibly forget that title? Obviously, I would love to play Take My Breath Away. That'd be the most amazing track to play. Oh my god, I freaking love that one. I don't even care how corny that sounds. I freaking love that track. Anyhow, yeah, I'd love to do that. And well, yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah, the weird one is I want to play Huey Lewis in the News, but that's another one of those like big bands that maybe it's not so good. I played one of the tracks, Power of Love. I played Power of Love last year by Huey Lewis in the News, and weirdly I didn't get a strike on that one, so I'm pretty sure. Well, then again, it's, do I want to chance it? What if they modified the algorithm so now it does recognize power? Man. Oh wait, I think I'm back up. I think, but I'm not sure. It says end stream on the button there, which seems to indicate that maybe I am back up. I'm gonna refresh and just see what happens, because I don't know. If Yeah, it still says offline. Oh, it says I'm back. Okay, good. Or rather, it. I'm sorry, Tom Anderson. You just became an it. My apologies. Anyhow, all right. So yeah, I'm totally calling stream. I'm gonna get myself to bed. I'm gonna get some REM sleep. It's gonna be amazing. And there you go. I want to go ahead and thank everybody for popping by. I am honestly really enjoying learning about the let's see here. Yeah, man, Ovi needs to learn how to hit refresh. Anyhow, but yeah, the the stream tomorrow with Josh Neal. Hopefully we'll have some fun topics. That'll be really cool. That'll be really fun. I'm going to go to bed, going to get some REM sleep. And there's a thing that I think is important, which is sleep actually is like genuinely a big deal, like proper. Sleep is a very big deal. And anyone that is not getting proper sleep, you're taking down your ability to process information properly, and you're not actually absorbing information the same way. You're not I don't know how to describe this, but I actually feel stupid when I don't get enough sleep. I don't have a language set for it, but it's my assumption that sleeping is basically how you process information and incorporate it into your life, or whatever that is. And if you don't sleep, like, your memory shuts down, your ability to think properly shuts down, my creativity just gets destroyed. So sleep is super duper important. So just throwing that out there. Anyhow, yeah, I'm absolutely calling stream now. So there we go. Did no case streaming, but we'll pretend that I did for a moment. In the event that things heat up in America, I actually do think that it's a good idea to exercise your constitutionally protected right, your God-given right to keep and bear arms. Personal opinion, I think you cannot go wrong with a Gen 3 Glock 19. Simple, straight ahead, easy to operate. It's a dumb, stupid, simple firearm to use. And the recoil isn't too bad because it's a compact. You still have all that mass. Also, lots of part support. Lots and lots of part support. Holsters like you wouldn't believe. And even I have it on good authority that the Glock Sport holster is actually very good. It costs like $20 or something. It's just a piece of freaking plastic. And apparently it works quite well. Anyhow, if you're going to exercise your Second Amendment right, your Second Amendment, your constitutionally protected right to keep and bear arms, I do think it's important that you also have in mind the 4 rules of firearms safety as outlined by Jeff Cooper. And those rules are: rule number 1, always treat every firearm like it is loaded. Rule number 2, never cover or sweep anything that you are not willing to destroy. Rule number 3, your finger stays off of the trigger until your sights are on target. And the 4th and final rule is: be aware of your target and what's beyond it. Safety first. And there you go. I think it's time to go. I want to say cheers to everybody. Tomorrow we're going to learn a little bit more about Purim. We're going to see how that goes. We are August the 14th currently, and I think I have to return it on like August the 29th or something. So we've only got another 2 weeks of that book before it's got to go back. So I might go and skim a couple of the pages just to see what happens. Maybe I can find a really fun, juicy part to read. So we'll see. Anyhow, again, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Rule number 5, Marge, my own pet rule number 5, which is secure that shit, Hudson. Firearms that are not in use should be secured. Anyway, but yeah, thank you everyone for popping by, and remember to brush and floss, and I'll see everyone in the chats. Cheers.